This is really screwing up the timeline of fashion for the summer, I feel like. Because everything was pushed forward. Couture was pushed forward. I'm used to it being in July, not June, but it's fine. Hi, my name is Ashley and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be going through my favorites from the past fall 2024 couture that just happened 2-ish weeks ago. Only my favorites. I didn't want to talk about things that I disliked. So let's just get right into it. So first we have Thom Browne, which out of the grouping of collections this season, probably hands down my favorite. I, as someone who went to design school and knows a little bit about sewing, the concept was amazing to me. And the idea of using muslin as the forefront for an entire couture collection blew my mind, because I never would have thought to have done that, because it's like, oh, it's part of the design process to do draping, to do everything on muslin before you put it onto the final fabrics and whatever you're choosing for each garment. But he was just like, nope, we're gonna do it for all of it. And I loved it. So creative, so different. It still, of course, was very Thom Browne, but it was by far, to me, the best collection. They all have structure to them, which is part of the signature. But this first look is the blazer dress that is structured here, structured at the waist, and then it has a longer side that is more prominent on just the muslin side of it. And I absolutely love it. I love the gold detailing on the left, and I love showing the different textures with the different types of muslins kind of in the shoulder seam here, and then obviously the pocket, and then down at the bottom to give the right side a little bit more depth. I thought it was really interesting and kind of like the entire collection was impressive, because I never thought you could put muslin in so much character for a garment, putting more structure and doing something and making it interesting. So this first look was a really good start for me in terms of loving the collection. The second look, I don't normally like these kinds of looks, but I, for whatever reason, was just so drawn to the shape of the entire garment. The sleeves being massive and just flowing right into the rest of the skirt was super interesting to me. And then obviously having like the rose gold embellishing and having the high neck, I absolutely loved this look. It's super interesting. Never would have expected to like it. That's new. So hands down one of my favorites. The next look is another dress, a little bit more form-fitting, long sleeve, but this one has different textured muslin in different colors, and I loved the way that they took the fabric and basically cut it and roughed it up and made it super like frilly almost to create the design. And like kind of, it doesn't look distressed, but it does kind of feel a little bit more distressed, and giving the entire shape kind of more of a shape instead of with what this dress usually is, where it's kind of just pretty straight, but it gives the curve and it gives the texture on the arm and then on the hips. And I loved the way that they used this silver to match the sides of the gray shades to have the accents of the silver here, just like the first one had the gold accents, this one has the silver ones. And I really liked this look. I thought it was super interesting. and I would actually wear it. Can't afford it, but would totally wear it. This next one is honestly something I don't think I was expecting to see, with the top being the form-fitting, you know, nod to a fitted shirt or a blazer with the collar and everything, and then you just droop down right into a mermaid trumpet skirt dress that has striping of like little stripes of the muslin going all the way down and wrapping down. I loved this look. I thought it was so interesting, and I also loved that side of the hip had the extra like shape. You could see there was an elongation of the hip, which I think kind of gave it a balancing look with having the pieces drooping down on one hip. You add a little bit more structure on the left hip and it just brings the shape together, and I really enjoyed it. I love that there's like a piece of white at the bottom, towards the bottom, and I think it's a really nice look. Again, I wasn't expecting a lot of this stuff out of muslin because I've never used muslin in that type of way, and I'm kind of just so couture. Like, this is couture and I appreciate it so much. Next look is also another blazer dress. This one is a little bit more intricate than one of the earlier ones. It's got the vest sleeve, the non-sleeve on this side, and then the much more dramatic left full-length sleeve. This one I think is a little bit more interesting just because it has the full shape, right? But then it has the extra embroidering detailing with the silver, but it also looks like there's a bit of like a sandy color too, and I just loved the shape of this look. I think the hip proportioning is amazing, but I also really enjoyed seeing the layering, and I love the detailings on the lapels with having one be the same sandy colored muslin color and then the others being a different sort of like heathered gray color. I thought the overall look was super pretty, even if it was like fairly dramatic with the shape and how many layers there were. It was still super pretty in my opinion. Next one is probably the best one of the entire group, of the entire collection, purely because of the gold that just draws in the shape of this garment. The blazer is really nice with the neckline and the simple shape. This is a very simple shaped garment. There's nothing crazy to the blazer, the jacket, and then the skirt that comes with it, but the gold detailing and then the white kind of like more crystal detailing that happens a little bit lower in the skirt is what makes this collection couture in my opinion, because you have to remember this is still just all muslin fabric. This is all base fabric for the beginning of a sewing project, and Thom Browne's able to make it look like this. Highly impressed, absolutely love it, and also looks good on the model too, so that helps. But it was amazing. This next look I was actually quite shocked about because of the beading embroidery that is on the left side of the paneling, but to me it actually makes sense considering that muslin is like the inner workings of fashion when you're creating a garment or a collection, because you use it on every single thing. So the kind of juxtaposition between the almost muscle construction on this side and then the muslin construction of the muscle on this side is really interesting, and I actually really liked it. I think the shape of the dress is very unique with having a more straighter left side and having a more structured bottom part on the right side, but it really threw me, but I like it. But I find the meaning behind the collection and the meaning of this particular garment, it works and I understand. The last one from this collection for me is amazing. To me, this is what I kind of think of when I think of haute couture, just like with the gold piece, this one too, but kind of for a different reason. The first one showed a little bit more craftsmanship in my opinion. This one does too, but this one is like that extra little bit more extravagant that makes haute couture to where it's, you know, just a little bit harder to wear. And this entire ensemble of a dress is perfect to me. I think the detail work that they did on the actual muslin fabric for the main part of the dress and up to the torso and the sleeves is so pretty. It's so delicate on a non-delicate fabric, and the neck piece and the big giant just workings of detailing, and it looks like flowers. It looks honestly like it's kind of like a bouquet a bit, and it's just blows my mind that this is made out of muslin and it's not made out of some super nice light pretty fabric. I have no idea. I love this look. I love how the dress is tight and it's got the shape in the hips and then it just flows out. It's dramatic without being like crazy dramatic, and I absolutely love this. I think Thom Browne really hit the ball out of the park with this couture collection. The next collection is Schiaparelli, which is one of my favorites. I tend to always love what that brand does. I think it's super interesting usually, and I am a sucker for black and gold, which is their signature. But what I found really interesting about this particular collection was that I was kind of drawing inspiration from the 50s a little bit, at least in the explanation of drawing from the 50s, and more so like kind of finding a lost collection in a basement, hence why it was in a basement. And I loved the idea of that. So the first look that I really enjoyed was very Schiaparelli. It was black and white polka dot with a little keyhole down below, and then the little gem, obviously, you know, like the little belly button thing that they do. The gloves, I loved the shape of the neckline, and I loved the entire, I just loved the look. It is very, to me, it feels super 50s just with the shape of the dress, and then obviously the glove levels that up a bit. I absolutely loved this look. I loved how it was like petals. And then the next look I actually liked, and this one was kind of an odd one for me. I didn't really think I would see this type of dress in this collection, was this brown number that is actually pretty modern. I wouldn't really anticipate seeing something like this in the 50s, so I think this is a good like modern interpretation of what dresses like the first one usually looks like in the 50s, and like that shape. I love the color of it. I love the little like tie at the top, and I love the strap that goes across the chest, and the little triangle details was actually quite interesting. It gave the garment more of like an elevated look versus just being kind of a generic shape. But I think the best thing was the bust line and how the shape of the neckline really kind of brought the dress to a different level, along with those little triangle cutouts. It was super cute, super simple, and I would 100% wear it. This next one I fell in love with immediately. It reminded me of a dress that Marilyn Monroe wore in, I think it was like 53 or 54, the movie There's No Business Like Show Business. She has like a blue dress that is similar in silhouette, especially the big ruffle that goes along like the leg and gives like the full shape of the dress. It looked exactly like that, and it was like a lighter sheer material as well. But this one I loved. I loved the black. Essentially it does look brown because it's a lot sheer, but I absolutely love the shape of the ruffle, the big piece on the end of the dress, and how it goes from, you know, mid-thigh basically to the ankle and just flows together. I love the gloves with it, and I love the neckline silhouette of having a deep V, having it be sheer on one end, and then having almost like a mock bodice under like a corset, having that visible and only on one side. I thought that was super interesting, super unique. But the entire garment itself I loved, and I hope that the inspiration was the same as what I saw, because it does very much give Marilyn Monroe, and that's why I loved it immediately, is because that's exactly what I thought of when I saw it. The next look is gorgeous. A very almost, it honestly looks like the Balenciaga dress from Sabrina that Audrey Hepburn wore in the black and the white one. It's kind of the same silhouette with the strapless, very like kind of penciled straight dress, and then a huge back piece to it. I love the texture of the dress. It kind of looks like scales a bit, like I would say like maybe like alligator scales or crocodile scales. Reptilian scales is what it looks like, and I think it's really interesting to look at. I love that there's like the big extra dramatic piece to just give the look a little bit something more than just a simple dress. I think the entire look is really cool, very elegant, does give off that vintagey look that Schiaparelli was obviously looking for, and I really liked it. Then we have a blue and black piece, which I first of all love the navy blue and the black together, but the thing that draws me in the most is that neckline where it has the black and it looks like it's embellished with like rhinestones or something, how it like pulls up and it brings in that shape and then just goes right into body essentially and curve with the blue. I love it. I also love the gloves. I'm liking gloves right now, I guess, and we're seeing them everywhere. But I really like the styling of this one, and I think the blue is such a nice colored blue, but I think what makes it so special is the fact that they have the entire dress constructed out of those strips of fabric, so you get the tight, no skin, and then it just becomes looser and looser and looser, and I really enjoy the color and the look. One of my favorites, obviously, but that neckline is like the best thing. And then the last one is a gown. The top part is my favorite part with the sweetheart corseted bodice. I love, love, love. I love that you can see all of the ribbing and that there's lacing just on the top. It's so pretty, and it goes down most of the way until it's the huge bowed yellow fabric that brings it out into being a gown. And I think the entire dress is so pretty. It's so elegant. That's something about like this entire collection. It does seem very elegant to me with modern hits of things, but I can see the inspiration for sure when it comes to these pieces. And I really liked how this gown looked, and this yellow color I'm liking on almost everything. I will never wear it because it's not for me, but I'm loving it in these couture pieces, and I loved this top. This top, like the top part is what killed me. It was amazing. Schiaparelli did a good job. Next we have another one of my personal favorites that every couture season I'm always excited to see is Elie Saab. And this particular one was actually quite interesting because based on kind of the story of the collection, it's almost it's a nod to the 90s when he was designing, obviously, and showing a consistency in his work. But I loved the idea of kind of going from dark and mysterious femininity and just riding all the way until it's like super light. So the contrast of the beginning of the show and the end of the show is striking, right? Because it's black and then lighter colors. Elie Saab is a true couture because there's always embellishments and florals and things that make couture what it is, and this collection was no different. My first favorite is this black gown. It's one of the first ones out to walk. What I really like about this one is I love the emerald and kind of purple detailing that goes across in embellishment, and you can see it in the sleeves. It elevates a black gown and makes it more interesting, because if you just had like this gown, a black gown, a black velvet gown with the leather gloves, it'll still be gorgeous, but I think because it adds in those shimmers of color going across the strapless into the hip basically, I think it just brings in more of an element that I really, really like, and I think it's a very interesting but still super pretty and elegant black gown. So that was a winner in my book. The next one is a floral, which I loved. I liked a lot of the florals in this particular collection, but this dress was my favorite. I loved the corseted top where you can kind of see the ribbing just a little bit, and then it goes into that black velvet. It's not the same as like the other one, but it is a little bit more form-fitting, but it still flows really nicely, and I love the floral detailing that goes across the entire thing. Again, it's like elevating a black dress and making it just that more interesting because of the color that you just bring in. It's dark, but it's feminine. It's kind of drawing in that kind of the differences and just bringing it together. I absolutely love this dress. I just think the floral adds so much to it, and it's still like, it's so simple, but it just looks amazing. I don't know. I love it. I'm a sucker for black though, so. Then we have another black one. Sorry, but again, this one is super dramatic in my opinion. I love that the strapless neckline of this dress is a little bit more dramatic than just a generic strapless. It looks like it's sculpted a little bit more, it's a little bit more shaped, and it kind of wings out a little bit, so there's a bit more of like a solid structure to the bodice in the dress. And I love that the entire design is just this silver embroidered embellishment masterpiece. I think it's such an elegant dress. Everything is elegant, but it's true. I think it's super interesting. I love the way that it falls to the floor and how it walks and how it moves. It gives a raise to such a simple silhouette. I also love how these gloves, instead of just ending basically right here, they actually go up a little bit and straighten right here, and then they kind of look like they're molding into the dress a little bit, and that they look like they're kind of one piece. I absolutely love this look. I love the shape of it. I love the detailing. The silver embroidery is amazing. It kind of like, to me it like looks like a bird kind of here, but I know it's not. It's super cool. It's a very intricate design, and I'm sure it took hours to do. My last pick for this collection is so pretty. It kind of reminds me of this last Met Ball theme with, like, you know, the Garden of Times, and kind of some of the looks that were on the carpet give off this type of vibe, but I think this one does it better. This floral gown, I love the boning that's visible. I'm obviously liking that you can see the detailing in these corseted type dresses, but I love that you can see it, and I love that their flower petals just, you know, they're concentrated here, they stop for a second, and then they concentrate again, and they just kind of feather out. And it's not a crazy look, it's not wild, but it is so pretty. I love that the skirt itself is a see-through, but it looks like there's some shape to it, so it's not like super light. There's still like a little bit of a structure to it, which I really like, and I think that works for that type of fabric. I love the color. I love that it is just, again, it's like most of the stuff I liked was on the earlier side, so it's all the darker stuff, but I thought this was like a perfect bringing to light femininity. I love the straps. I love that there's flowers on the straps. Everything about this dress to me is so pretty, and I can honestly see it. I love this color, but I could honestly see it in a bunch of other colors, and I think it's still so pretty. This is probably my favorite dress of the entire collection, and it's like one of the last ones, or it's later in the collection, but I thought that this was such a pretty dress, and I thought this collection was very well done, as expected. My last collection is the Robert I collection. That is basically just a depiction and conceptual idea of time, and had a very cool ending that we'll go through at the end of this. But what I really liked about this collection was just how he went through the seasons and how he kind of depicted them, obviously taking from his culture with some of the pieces, but I thought the coloration was what made this collection for me so good, because I'm a sucker for color. That's what I go to first. But I really enjoyed most of these looks. There were a few that I didn't particularly love, but most of it I really liked. The very first look of the collection absolutely killed me, which is one of the winter looks. It was the gown that had the cover that was just black, and just basically the snow embellishments everywhere. I loved this dress. I thought it was so pretty and screamed winter, and I thought that was such a clever way of portraying the season, was just make it pitch black dress, add the white to it. We know what it is, but I know the thought process was way more than that. I loved the draping kind of like piece that they have on the model, and how it just adds to the dress. Can't see the whole dress, but at this point I don't think I really care, because I think it's just so amazing, and I love the white detailing. For me, it's so pretty, and I think the dress is just so amazing. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. I love it, and I love the concept. The next look is the cherry blossom dress. I'm assuming the cherry blossom, that's what they look like. And I kind of loved the umbrella the most, but I really liked kind of seeing that transition from winter to spring in this dress, and how it's the pink and the floral, and then it just has the black velvet, because it's still winter, it's not spring yet, but it's so pretty. And I just love the coloration of the black with the pink, and I think the design itself is super dramatic without being like crazy dramatic. It's not super over the top, but I loved the heavy velvety fabric at the bottom, and kind of moving towards the lighter creation with the flowers. I loved the pink, but the umbrella is what really took it for me. I'm not really sure why. And then I loved this rosy kind of pastel-y pink number. I honestly didn't think I would like it, just because there's kind of a lot going on, and I'm not someone who likes a ton of stuff all the time. But I think the structure of the bodice and having like a backwards corset was super interesting to me, and then having obviously the actual top part of the dress have that be almost like a riff on the cone bra, but have it be like sinking in, so it's almost like making something backwards, I think, from my viewpoint. But I thought the backwards corset was really interesting. Now, it wasn't done the whole way, so it just gives like the bodice piece some interesting structure and some depth with how it looks and then bringing it right into very dramatic draping that I thought was super cool and was something that I wouldn't expect to see with this particular shape, and then bringing the draping into the pleated fabric, which is across a lot of this particular collection, and then having like the burning, which is obviously house code, and then that is also another good depiction of just time, because everything kind of erodes, right? And when something burns, it just fizzles out, right? I loved kind of the concept behind this pink look, and again, it was something that I didn't think I was going to like, but I actually did, and I think it's because of that backwards corset that kind of drew me in the most, and I thought it was really, really good. And then my last official favorite, before getting to the part that was actually talked about the most, was this green number that brought me in because of the color. I loved going through the 3 different shades of emerald green, and again, it was on a very dark skinned model and it looked amazing. So good on her. But I loved the draping. The draping next to the color is what I really, really liked about this dress. I also thought the kind of like the feathering that looked like, they look like leaves. I think that was also kind of interesting. I loved the hat that went with it, but I think the draping and then the pleating at the bottom was what really took this dress over the top for me, but that color is what got me immediately. But I love the sleeves and how dramatic they are, how they cross, and how it's like the lighter and then the darker and then like more of like that really emeraldy kind of stone color. Overall, the dress is so pretty, and that's why it's one of my favorites. The last thing that I want to talk about with this collection is the ending of it. I know it got a lot of visibility, people were talking about it, but I thought it was such an interesting take to use the concept of time that he used for the rest of the collection, but use it in a way that is both body and soul, and kind of round out the collection with a look that just depicts the human body in our time, with the first look depicting skin, and then the second look depicting flesh and like muscle structure, and then the third one depicting bones and our skeleton, and then the last one, which is my favorite, is depicting a soul. Like, how do you depict a soul? Robert depicts a soul with this dress. They were all night and day, which is I think what the point is too, to kind of show the structure of a human body and the time that a human has. I thought every single dress, whether it was the skin one with the pleating and the way that that stuff draped, it was so interesting. And then the muscle one, that I loved the texture and the fabric. That one was structured wider. It looked like a human, if you like cut them open and it was just all the muscles and everything, like it looked exactly like that, and I thought it was so interesting. Obviously that kind of depiction in fashion has been around a little, like it's been popular, so it's not the first time we've seen it, but I really like his interpretation of it. The bone one, the skeletal one, was interesting itself, and just the way that he used, I'm not even sure what the fabric was, to have like the skull and then the ribs and then the arms, but I loved how that was like a separate piece, and then the dress actually had arms to it, and I thought the bottom was really pretty. But the sole garment that ended the entire show was by far my favorite, and I think the one that was most talked about, because how do you depict a soul in a dress? And I think what he did with it being almost galaxy-like, but very light and very airy and very pretty and very sparkly, I think is a really good interpretation of what a soul could possibly be. But just like the first one that had that veil, I think this one is a winner too in my eyes. I love the veil, I love the design and the way that he translated a soul in his head of what he thinks it is to a very pretty dress. And I thought that this collection overall was conceptually very interesting, and I liked the thought behind it. And those are my favorite for fall 2024 Couture Week. Let me know what your guys' favorite were down in the comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!